Hi all, welcome back to a new post today. And today let's speak about the 1 year of Russia and Ukraine war. It's not a very happy thing to speak about because it has impacted each and everyone across the world, maybe through supply chain disruption, inflation, growth, displacement, human rights violation, and whatnot. But yes, it's still not over, and we are into 1 year of the Russia Ukraine war. Let's take a quick review of it and let's see how it actually changed the world and what was the reason for this war. So it's been 1 year since Europe's biggest and deadliest war has been fought since the World War II, and it has not only affected the lives of people, but also it is the second biggest thing to happen after the pandemic. And it displaced the global economy and also changed the geopolitical situation entirely around the world. And once again, it has divided the world into two sides, just like we've seen during the Cold War era. A year on, and thousands of soldiers and civilians have been killed in the conflict. There's still fighting going on. Millions of Ukrainians have become refugees, and the Ukraine's own gross domestic product has shrank as much as 35% in the last year. And the World Bank estimates this. It has said that the war hasn't ended, and just yesterday, when they were observing 1 year of the war, Zelensky vowed victory in this year, that's 2023. So let's look into the war for a brief and let's see what has been its impact, how it has affected the world over. So we know, so if you look at the origin and the trigger point that actually caused the war, let's first speak about the Soviet Union, which broke up in 1991, and many Soviet era countries became independent, and now they actually want to join the NATO, which is a Western led security grouping mainly headed by the United States and many of its allies. Now, more Soviet era countries they are culturally affiliated to Russia, and this is not liked as with the association with USA and many Western nations who are the allies of the US, because more closeness between the Soviet era countries and the West, that's the US and its allies, only means a security threat to Russia and encirclement in what we call as international terms. So on February 24th last year in 2022, Putin said that Russia sought demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. Within minutes, Putin announced explosions and an invasion in Ukraine, and there was a takeover of Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, and the Donbas region. Now, Russia demands for an end of the NATO's eastward expansion, and this is the major trigger point. So, Ukraine is a Soviet-era republic, and Zelensky urged Biden last year to allow Ukraine to join the NATO. Now, this wasn't liked by Putin because Ukraine is a Soviet-era country and culturally affiliated to the Russia. So just like in simple terms, they are brothers. This angered Russia, and it started to send troops to Ukraine border for training exercises, which then led to a full-scale invasion and a war. Now, as of 1 year, that is February 24, 2023, Russia controls almost the area which is equal to the two countries in the far Europe. Like, it controls the size of that. So it controls almost close to 20% of Ukraine, mainly the Luhansk region, the Donetsk region, the Mariupol, and also Crimea, which is already under its control. So this region is very close to the Black Sea, and it has control, and its forces are stationed there. So what has been the world since the war now? This has been the biggest thing since World War II. And what has been the impact? We have seen a year, we had seen 2 years of the pandemic, and then 1 year wholly going into the Russia and Ukraine war. Let's get a quick review of this without taking much time. So first thing, the most important, economies have been disrupted. So let me tell you that economies of the nations are already still in precarious conditions due to supply side disruptions, impact of sanctions on Russia, and Russia having economic relations with them. There has been fuel disruption, food security issues, and many more reasons. Now, economies from Europe to Africa and even Asia have been impacted. There has been higher inflation on the supply side disruptions due to the war, and also increase in demand and in the aftermath of the pandemic. So supply side disruptions including addition with increase in demand, has led to growth of inflation worldwide. The sanctions slapped on Russia led to energy price shock not seen since 1970s, let me tell you. And natural gas price has been increased 3 times higher, and this was said by the World Bank and the IMF itself. There's also going to be a steep fall in GDP to come, and also there has been a steep fall in GDP with the recession-like situation many of the European countries and other countries as well. Second one, the food prices have been shot up. Now let me tell you, Russia and Ukraine are major suppliers of wheat, oil and fertilizers to many countries. So Russia is also the largest producer of fertilizers in the world, and this led to supply side disruption and food security threat in many Middle East countries, Africa and also parts of Asia. Third, there has been an arms race. So the arms race has started not only because of the war in the Ukraine and Russia, but also because the allies and the countries in Europe trying to arm themselves to save themselves from any threat in the future. So US and NATO are already delivering weapons to Kyiv, while Russia is using more of them to bomb the places in Ukraine. And US has also accused China of helping Russia. Drones, howitzers, missiles, armored vehicles are being delivered on a large scale by US and its allies in Europe to Ukraine. Weapons are made now more in higher number by countries such as France, Germany and many EU nations who want to protect their own borders from Russia. Fourth, the nuclear threat has increased. Now, Russia has taken control of the nuclear sites in Ukraine, and Putin has called a suspension of the New START treaty very recently, that is day before. This means a larger threat. Now, Russia can use this to build up more nuclear weapons, acquire more new technology regarding to weapons and missiles, and also test more missiles. This can happen without inspection, inventory of the arms under the New START treaty. So this means a nuclear arms race also, and also build up of arms and ammunitions and also nuclear weapons on a large scale by both the West and Russia because of the suspension of the New START treaty. It also means spillover of these arms to other countries as well. Number 5, alliances are strengthened. So the NATO has now expanded. It is seen to be expanded since the Russia is invaded Ukraine. So Finland and Sweden have been pressing for their membership towards NATO. Many other countries are showing interest as well, especially the Soviet era countries. So the EU 27 member grouping has also become more closer, and they have shown solidarity together with Ukraine and sent billions of dollars worth of weapons and also imposed sanctions on Russia on a whole together. So this has strengthened alliances between the 27 member EU countries, also the allies of West, that is against Russia, and also the NATO is now to be seen expanding. Even though they are dependent on oil and natural gas from Russia, that is the European Union mainly, it has suspended the imports of oil and fuel from Russia, all the countries together, and they have cut the power consumption even during peak winters, showing the solidarity towards cutting the imports of oil and natural gas from Russia. Number 6, the world stands divided once again, just like the Cold War era. So the Cold War era seen countries supporting the democratic principles of US or the communist principles of Russia, and now once again we see the world divided again. So the EU and many of the countries beside the US have strengthened their alliance and their solidarity towards the US, and also Russia has seen support coming from China, Iran, North Korea, Africa, Middle East and many Asian countries. Russia has said that it doesn't matter for the US alliance, but definitely China and Russia will restore back the world order. So we see these differences becoming stark once again after the Cold War era. 7, Russia's military superpower image has been taken a hit. So after the Crimea invasion in 2014, Russia vowed not to take such a step again, but then it's broken its promise, and its aggressive nature and invasion of the Ukraine has only dented its military superpower status. And it said that it will not invade Ukraine, but it did so in the last moment, and this has led to a trust deficit among the Soviet era countries and Russia and many of the European countries as well, looking at the aggressive nature of Russia and militarization of Ukrainian territories. Now let me tell you that Russia is slapped with 2,700 sanctions and locking almost $3 billion of forex reserves and gold for the country. So this is a dooms for the Russian economy as well. US and allies have also embargoed the Russian oil, leading to the spiraling of oil prices, and they have also led to sanctions regarding the price cap by the G7 countries on Russian oil. So what has been the impact on India lastly, and that's number 8. So there has been, with supply side disruptions, there has been impact on India as well, especially with regard to sunflower oil, with the wheat, with fertilizers and many other products as well. The rupee fell the worst since 2013 against the dollar, and inflation rose as oil prices soared, and also there was food related inflation as well. Students were displaced from both Ukraine and Russia. They came back to India with their studies disrupted, etc. And still the war is going on, so there is a lot of uncertainty with regard to people who stay in the nearby European countries, and also with Ukraine, especially with regard to the Indian citizens. The monetary policy has been tightened in the country because of the inflation, and there has been a slowdown in Europe and US, which are major markets for India's exports. So the Indian exports have been hit on a large scale. The stock market's volatility has been seen in India because of the trust deficit with regard to investors, and this is not only with regard to India but also world over. There has been a stock market volatility, and also in India as well. But on the positive side, let me tell you, Russia has become the 5th largest trade partner to India, and now as of recent we have been getting oil from Russia on a cheaper side. But definitely this has other repercussions. Companies are facing a problem regarding importing of the oil, especially with regard to the oil importing vessels, insurance and also payment. So there is a negative side to this as well. So in brief, this was about the Russian boil, 1 year, how it has actually it has rechanged the entire picture of the world, especially being the second biggest important event after the pandemic, and its impact is being felt, will be felt in the coming times to come as the war continues, still in Ukraine, not calling it an end. And I hope this information was really helpful to you all. So if you did like, please share, like and subscribe, and do follow me for your daily updates. And until then, as usual, it's happy learning.